Peter, welcome to the Family Business Show.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me on.
Well, thank you for joining us. Just going to be a really relaxed conversation about you, your family business, how it's been through the COVID-19 pandemic, and your plans and ambitions for the future.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Right, well, let's get stuck straight in. Why don't you tell the audience who you are and what your family business does?
Cool. Yeah. So we are now third generation general insurance brokers. We're a traditional touch and feel type business. So we like to think we're servicing our local businesses and community. We have 15 staff. We're based in Hoddesdon and the Herts Essex border. And the business is split 50-50 roughly between what we call personal lines, so your own personal insurances, car, home, travel, that sort of stuff, and then 50% for the commercial side of things, so B2B.
Brilliant. Okay.
We're the main strength of our business is the fact that we're independent, so we're not tied to any one insurer. So people come to us, we understand their brief, we go out to the market.
Fantastic. And tell us about how it's a family business. What's the setup?
So the business was started by my father-in-law 40 years ago, and he had his brother-in-law work for him and sister-in-law and all sorts of things. Sarah, my wife, went to work for him about 27, 28 years ago, and my brother-in-law went to work for him as well. I eventually joined the firm. I became disillusioned with what I was doing, and Richard approached me. And then about 12 years ago, we bought him out of the business. Matt and Sarah were keen for their mum and their dad to go out and enjoy the fruits of their labour, and we put together a plan and took them over. So myself as managing director, Matthew, my brother-in-law, as sales director, and Sarah, my wife, as finance director.
So you were working at one point in very close proximity to your very nearest family, which a lot of people would say is a recipe for disaster. A big old melting pot of chaos. So how did you manage those relationships? Obviously being respectful of your in-laws who had founded this business. You've then got the responsibility of it being in your wife's family and your brother-in-law. I mean, how on earth did you navigate that when it wasn't your family?
I guess from my point of view, I've always found that a little bit easier perhaps than Sarah and Matthew, because I think I'm one step removed from Richard. You know, I mean, interestingly, when we talked about, when we went through a period of due diligence and Sarah, Matt and I bought Richard out of the business, he was incredibly challenging of us, because I think he wanted to test that actually we had the nerve, if you like, to really carry on. And after all, this is his baby. He actually accelerated his exit from the business because I think he could see that a 40-something me was a very different individual to a 65-something that he was. And all right, he might have done things the way I'd done them 40, but he didn't want to fall out. It was just different, and he was happy to let me carry on. So the once removed thing for me was never an issue. The challenge I think that me, Matt and Sarah have had over the years is to just stick to what we do. You know, I don't want to be the finance director when Sarah's being the finance director. I don't want to be the sales director when Matt can be the sales director, and vice versa. The only time, and every so often it slips back into it, probably as every other family business does, the only time we ever have words is when we step on each other's toes.
Okay.
So the secret is to stick to what it is you do.
And you're good at.
Yeah, exactly. And what you're paid for, ultimately.
Okay, so you went from, I know you worked in the travel industry and all sorts, working for other people, to suddenly buying your own business, running your own business, and being a leader of, 16 odd people. How have you found leadership as a whole, the challenges and the positives?
I realised very quickly, actually, that I quite like the sound of my own voice. So being a leader was never a challenge for me. If I'm honest with you, it's the role that I wanted to do. One of my challenges when we were going through due diligence was that I felt my strengths were being MD, being a figurehead, being the overall sort of driver of the business. But I wanted Matt and Sarah to tell me that's who I should be rather than me tell them. I mean, I was born into a family business. My dad had his own family business.
Wow, okay.
He was a nurseryman. Rumour has it that I gave birth, and I think the dog was in the room with us and goodness knows what else. And Dad came down from the nursery and, all right, there it is, he's a boy, 5 fingers, 5 toes, etc. And he sort of put his boots on and went back off to work. But I'd always been around family business growing up. and then obviously getting together with Sarah and seeing their family business as well. So it was never a problem to me to be part of that ethic. And as I say, I do quite like the sound of my own voice. So.
And do you think being a family business makes a difference to A, the people that work for you, and B, your customers and potential customers?
We have to make it a difference. Absolutely. Because if we don't, who are we? We're just the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. I believe it's fundamental. It's a foundation of everything we do as a business. And if we're not portraying that to our customers, if that doesn't filter down through the staff, it's a well-worn phrase, isn't it? That, you know, my business is my extended family. But genuinely, I think if you think about it like that and you treat them like that, I've found personally that it's reciprocated and the staff warm and rise to it. There are one or two, there are always going to be that perhaps don't see that kind of thing. But ultimately, the way we are in business shouldn't start and finish with our customers. It shouldn't start and finish with our staff. It shouldn't start and finish with our suppliers. It should start and finish with all assets of it. And then we're true to the ethos and the ethics that we hold dear and that we can translate to our customer base.
Absolutely. So on that note then, you recently welcomed the third generation of your family, your son Jack, into the family business. Now, how did that conversation go? Did he come to you? Did you come to him?
No, we actually went to him. He came to a bit of a crossroads at the end of his period of education, and he was trying to do something and it wasn't sort of working out. And we kept having these conversations about what can I do next and where can I go. And one night I just said to Sarah, he could come and work for us. It was never been on our agenda, never even thought about it. And I said, look, if he's going to go and work in a sales function somewhere, B2B, we're actually looking to employ someone in our commercial department next year. Why would we, you know, and rightly or wrongly, and for him, at least I could turn around and say to him, well, look, you've got to give me 2 or 3 years. You can't rock up and say 6 months later, I don't fancy it.
Yeah.
We then spoke to Matthew, my brother-in-law, and ultimately gave him the decision and said to him, look, we're not going to force this on you. He said, yeah, he'd absolutely love to have Jack working alongside him and think he would be a good asset. We approached Jack and that's quite a funny story, actually. We actually went out, took him out for a meal under the guise of, come on, let's get out. And this was last summer. And when we told him, he just went completely silent on us. Just straight-faced, completely silent. And we thought, oh my God, what have we done here? It's like the life out of him. So it's very much, you know, give it 24 hours, have a think about it. And then he came back to us and he said, look, I suddenly realised that everything I'd studied for, all my education, I probably wasn't going to pursue. So it wasn't the shock of you offering me a job or wanting to work for you. It was more, I'm now going to have to go down a different path. And once he got his head around that, he was fine. I didn't have any problems with him because he's a good lad and I knew there wasn't going to be any sort of confrontation, so it was never an issue for me. And you know, so far, touching wood, he's done very, very well.
And did you lay any ground rules for integrating him into the business, into the team? Because there'll be lots of people that think, oh, he's only got the job because his name's above the door, because his dad's the MD. So did you actually do anything official or anything like that to make sure that he integrated with the team okay?
I think the most important thing is we tried to do exactly what we would have done for any other new employee. So, you know, coupled with the conversation with me to say to him, look, you know, we don't have car park spaces, we're not that precious, but I happen to leave my car in a particular place because I come and go. So it's for access more than anything else. And I've said to him, look, if ever I'm in the office, not in the office, you do not park in that space. Do not give any member of staff a reason to think that you're getting preferential treatment. Regretfully, Jack, you're going to have to start earlier than anyone else and you're not allowed to finish before anyone else. You know, you're the first in the door and the last out the door. Regretfully, if you get a target, I don't just want you to achieve it, I want you to surpass it. You know, my dad was tough on me because he carried forward the ethics of a family business. Sarah's dad was tough on her because he carried forward the ethics of a family business. No hiding place. But I didn't have a problem with that because I knew Jack would accept that, and I knew, you know, he would be happy doing that role.
Brilliant. And I'd imagine it's been quite nice being able to see him so much in a different type of environment to just your father-son relationship.
Yeah, you do. I was talking to Sarah about this because obviously being part of the same family during lockdown, me and Jack came into the office each day. Everyone else working remotely. So literally it was me and Jack. I learned how he wanted to be trained, how he wanted to learn the role. You know, I think as business owners, when we've done everything from Frankie the Mail to selling complex transactions and business deals and what have you, we tend to forget about the little minutiae. And I had to relearn how to communicate and train with him, which was good, because that is something, you know, let's face it, you don't see your kids every day at school, do you? Or going through their education, or
no.
You know, and nowadays, God forbid those that homeschooling, but nowadays you don't have much involvement in homework and extra tuition stuff. So that's been great. I've enjoyed it.
So, you know, I've come across quite a few people who are thinking about, I'd really like my children to join the family business, or they've, you know, said to me that they might think about it after university. Just quickly, are there any sort of tips or words of wisdom you'd give to either someone thinking about employing their children or children thinking about joining the family business?
I think from a child to a parent perspective, the child needs to go in with their eyes wide open. You know, this isn't going to be a gravy train, far from it. And it isn't going to be a cushy number. So as long as the child, if you like, understands the pressure that are going to be put on them, because as family business owners, we've had that pressure ourselves, and you know, and I guess from my point of view, from a business owner's point of view, treat them just like you would any other member of staff. And if you're doing the right things for your other members of staff, you're doing the right things for your children.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, let's not beat around the bush now. Let's talk about the big C, the big COVID-19. So you are in a very, very unique industry in the face of this pandemic. You know, you sell insurance. So tell me what it has been like over the last 3 or 4 months for you guys.
It's been the biggest roller coaster that I've ever known. I mean, we had run a sort of test case of people working remotely a week before we went into lockdown. So we were very fortunate, and as soon as it was announced, we hit the button and everyone worked remotely. And to my knowledge, we didn't miss a call or an email during the whole period. So, you know, well done us. And I think that speed of response is important. From my personal point of view, I can't stand indecision. I can't stand not knowing. So are we going to go into lockdown? Aren't we going to go into lockdown? You can't go out, you can't go out. As soon as it's announced, whether it's good or bad news, I know where I can go and I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
So once that announcement happened, I found amazing clarity. We increased communication with our staff. We were doing daily Zoom meetings. We used to have a general meeting in the morning and a team meeting in the afternoon. We were unbelievably busy in the early part of it. You know, everyone was having insurance queries. People were trying to reduce cover and cancel this and refund that. So we had all the pain, if you like, of increased pressure and workload without any of the benefit of income. That was a challenge. That was a massive, massive challenge. As things went by, I think a lot of businesses and a lot of industries realised they'd probably panicked and cut a little bit too deep, a little too quick. That recovered. And then because we were available, because we were accessible, I think we've started to see the benefit now where people are coming to us going, you don't insure me, but I'd like to have some of what you do because I've seen where you were and what you were trying to achieve.
Fantastic.
So yeah, real roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you as an individual and as a leader, how did you deal with that? I mean, in terms of your mental strength?
Again, I think just knowing what the task at hand is, you know, a massive proportion of my time was then really spent communicating with the guys, not just because they're working remotely, but communicating with them generally, making them still feel part of this team, driving them forward. I think one of the natural reactions was, you know, let's face it, no one wants to buy insurance at the best of times. It probably hasn't covered itself as an industry in too much glory during this pandemic, certainly from a business point of view. So the natural reaction of some of the staff was to say, right, put the barriers up, I don't want to talk to anyone. Okay. We had to do the complete opposite. Yeah. You know, if we were making 10 phone calls a day, we had to go and make 20 phone calls a day. Yeah. If we were sending 5 emails, go and send 25. Communicate. Whether it's bad news or good news, just communicate. And you know, encouraging and cajoling the guys to maintain this communication, this accessibility, this availability, to ensure that our clients were informed. And once we got over that barrier, you know, the guys were coming back on the Zoom meetings going, wow, you know, my client who hardly ever says 2 words to me, I've had a 25-minute phone conversation with them today. I know where they go on holiday and what the name of the pet is. And
Yeah.
It's building that relationship and rapport.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll be a better organisation and better place coming out the other side of it for that.
Brilliant. Okay, well that segues me on well, because I've asked all of our guests, have there been any changes as a result of the pandemic that have actually made you stronger and better for the future that you're going to keep going forward? So that level of communication has obviously got to be one of them.
Absolutely. So from an eternal point of view, I mean, we started to phase back into work probably a little bit earlier than other industries and businesses, just because I could see that the staff were crying out for it. I had to set up the office correctly in terms of social distancing, PPE and all the rest of it, and rules and regulations, and your health and safety stuff and everything like that. But I could see that the staff wanted to get back to the team, which was great. So communication was key. Communication with our clients. It has made us streamline, digitalise as much as we possibly can, and we have reduced great swathes of workload, which will be a positive, and we won't go back. You just can't. Once you've seen the benefit of that and the reduction in workload, you just move forward. It will change the way that we buy. It will change the industries that we and the companies that we support.
Yeah.
Not only from a business level, but personal level. I've seen a lot of big companies just, switch off the phones, pull up the ladder, turn off the website, and stop communicating. On the flip to that, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, local businesses doing things in an engaging way and really being fantastic. And that has changed my eyes. I was never the greatest shopper in the first place, and you probably wouldn't find me in a supermarket too often. But I am never going to go back to a supermarket again, because I just don't like the way those big organisations treat their customers. And there is no service. There is no thought for that process. And that's one of the biggest things that, as a business, we will come out of that as well. Insurers have done some really fantastic things during this pandemic. Some of them have done some really awful things. And going back to the ethics of our business, how can I recommend an insurer that hasn't been there to support people?
Completely. And I think what you spot on there about, we've seen this rise of entrepreneurial spirit. And I think family businesses have that in droves, don't they? I mean, there is entrepreneurial spirit bursting at the seams. And I think now that as a nation, we've changed our way of thinking. And you're absolutely right. All these small local independent businesses that have managed to do the most extraordinary things, because small businesses, family businesses are agile. We can adapt. We can say, right, we're going to do this because we need to in order to survive. And I think that's just been so wonderful to see.
Do you know, when we were going through our due diligence, taking over the business from Richard, we had a consultant that came to see us on a few occasions. And he said to me a phrase which has stuck with me, and it's never truer now than it's ever been. Big business is like an oil tanker. If it wants to change direction, it's got to take a long time to turn. Your business should be like a speedboat. You get in there, you get it done, you change it, you get out, you move, you adapt, you flow. And you're right. I've noticed. I feel terrible. I've noticed shops, retailers, businesses that I've never noticed before on my high street. But I'm going to make sure they get all the support they need now.
Brilliant. Has there been anyone or anything or a business in particular that's been fantastic for you, or really supported you through this?
I guess we in the insurance industry, we have a computer system, a software package that drives everything. So it accounts for our business, it creates our documentation, it's a CRM and everything, and they've been brilliant. Right from the word go. What can we do to help? The system is set up so that people could work remotely. The security was in place, and that was brilliant. The other organisation, which again is another family business, is our telecom provider, who was absolutely brilliant. Flick of a switch, we had all our comms remotely. This is little old Ashbourne Insurance here, and I'm going to name check them. Paul Turner, Ladybird Communications, top man.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Just great. Without those two, without the data and the voice, we couldn't have carried on the way that we needed to do it.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about the future. So everyone seems to have got their head around what's happening. The government have put in place some quite extraordinary, to be honest, support in order to protect livelihoods and jobs. So as we start to come out of this, you've been back at work for a little while now, your team. So what does the future look like for Ashbourne Insurance? What are your hopes and your ambitions and your dreams? And how are you going to future-proof your business heaven forbid something like this ever happens again?
Well, firstly, we've proved we can do it, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, every cloud and all that. I mean, I suppose everyone's got a disaster recovery plan, but did we ever think we were going to have to use them? So that looks so tick. I guess my desire, my hope, my aspiration for my business now is that the thing that's at the heart of what we do, which is advice, is what's going to stand us in good stead for the future. That is our differential. You know, those firms that, as I say, turned off the phones and pulled up the ladder and switched off the website, we were here, and we were here to advise, whether that was, you know, good news or bad news. And I think that's what's going to stand us aside. I think people are going to start to look at us in a different light. Hopefully people will start to recognise the peace of mind and the value that that advice brings. And I think if we can accelerate it and drive it and continue this form of communication that we've adopted, I feel very, very positive about what our future looks like.
Fantastic. It's so exciting for you. You know, well, first of all, congratulations on becoming a third generation family business. I mean, the stats will tell you that not many people make it that far. So I'm so pleased that, you know, you've managed to get through this and you've been able to support your clients, and actually some really good stuff has come from it. So finally, shameless plug for Ashbourne Insurance before we go. What can we do as a family business audience to support you and to make sure your family business, you know, goes into the future even better?
All of the things that we've talked about, the ethics, the what we stand for, the advice, the relationship, the rapport, the connectivity, is what Family Business Place does to me. Whenever I come into interactions with you at conference previously, or bits, you're all about promoting what we do rather than what we are. And I can't thank you enough for that. I think that's excellent. Just continue to do it. You know, we love to bounce off you guys and vice versa. And I think if we can continue this community and actually just get this message out louder, stronger and prouder for everyone, I think all family businesses will benefit. Absolutely.
And if there are family businesses out there who have not been happy with the way their insurance broker or firm have treated them, or their insurance might be up for renewal and they want to talk to a human being about some of these questions. And look, you know, I'm a small business owner. I think, oh, is that a stupid question? Should I even be asking that? Should I already know the answer? But actually just come and talk to you, because you just never know.
The only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask.
Absolutely. So if there's anyone out there who's thinking, right, my insurance is up for renewal, just come and have a chat with you guys.
All we ask for is to give you a second opinion. Do you know what? We might even reassure you that you've got a really fantastic deal and the best policy on the market. Not a problem. We've done our job then, haven't we?
Brilliant. Okay, so can you leave us with one last tip or piece of advice for anyone running a family business at the moment?
Enjoy your successes and don't sweat your failures.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being on the Family Business Show, Peter. It's been wonderful to have you.
Great, son. Thank you.